I just like to carry on doing what I'm doing.
As long as you can.
Yeah.
Yeah, great.
Because I enjoy it.
Yeah.
Welcome to Island Influencers, where we share stories of successful business owners, experienced professionals, entrepreneurs and community leaders based or with influence in the Isle of Man. This podcast is brought to you by Thornton Chartered Financial Planners, because great financial planning has the power to change your life. Now here's your host, Chartered Financial Planner Sharon Sutton.
My guest today on Island Influencers is Mike Boulton, who many Isle of Man born and bred northerners like me will no doubt know and remember fondly from the time they spent at Albert Road School in Ramsey. Mike started his career teaching at Albert Road in 1968 and didn't retire until 1998. During that time, he taught and influenced so many of us, whether it was just in the classroom learning maths or if you were trained to be a Commonwealth Games swimming competitor in the Ramsey swimming pool. He was a founder of Northern Athletic Club, and he was also a musician and founder of one of the many folk ensembles he put together. So Mike's had a huge impact on the revival of Manx culture, particularly music, and none more so than having star pupil Mera Royle crowned as BBC Radio 2's Young Folk Musician of the Year in 2018. So I hope you enjoy listening to Mike's story and, like me, being impressed by how incredibly humble he is and recognising what skills and qualities makes him such an inspiration for so many primary school children during the formative years of their lives. Let's kick off and go back in time, if that's all right, and find out, you and your life on the island. And so where did you grow up and go to school?
Well, I was born in Ramsey in a very small maternity home at the bottom of Brook Hill, and I went to Albert Road School as a 5-year-old, an infant, and I stayed there until I was 10 or 11. Mm-hmm. And then I went to King Bill's. You
went to King William's College? I had no idea that you went to King William's.
Yeah, I got a scholarship somehow.
Ah, right.
I can remember the interview now. It's embarrassing. They said to me, who's your favourite author? Mm-hmm. And if I told the truth, I'd have said Captain W.E. Johns, because he wrote the Biggles books.
Right.
But I thought, I can't say that.
So what did you say?
Tennyson. And they said, oh, do you like poetry? I said, no. And they all laughed.
Rumbled.
Yeah, but somehow they overlooked that and they gave me a scholarship.
Fabulous. So you went there for from what would be year 7 up until...
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. And so how did you board? Because I presume you lived...
Yeah, I had to in those days.
Yeah, you wouldn't have been able to... So what was that like? What was it like being a boarder back in...
Oh, the Victorian.
Right.
It really was. And the food was awful.
No, my son Luke goes and he says the food's amazing. So, but yeah, I mean, we're having this conversation today just as it's been announced that we're about to reopen quite a lot of life as normal, which is...
Hopefully,
yeah. So 22nd the school goes back. But... So what about what was it like home life? Because you've got siblings, haven't you?
I've got a sister who was 4.
Yeah.
And I remember my earliest memory that I can put a date to was 1942.
Yeah.
When my sister was born, and my mum and dad somehow managed to con me into thinking I'd chosen her. They took me to the maternity home, the same one I was born in.
Yeah.
And they said, which one would you like? And I said, that one. And it was the one we got. Well, it might not have been, but I thought it was anyway. Right.
Okay, so that's good. So you were 4 when she was born?
Yes.
Right, okay. And what about...
I was 12 when Paul was born.
Yeah, gosh. Okay. So your dad was quite the celebrity back then, from what I remember.
He was very well known all over the island, yes, because he was a journalist. Mm. And when he died, the crowd at the church was amazing.
Yes.
St Paul's Church was full, bottom and top.
Yeah. Mm. Yes, he was quite a character, didn't he?
Yes, he was.
Yeah, and how about your mum? Your mum was, I remember her from when I was very small, because your parents lived next door to my grandparents, funny enough. Such a small place that the Isle of Man is.
Yeah, they did, yes. And my grandparents before that.
They lived in the same house?
It was their house, yes.
Oh, I see, right, okay.
They were both deaf and dumb.
Gosh. Do you remember that?
Very well, yeah.
Yeah. Mm. And how did you converse with them?
On my hands.
So you can still do sign language?
Yeah, but not very... I can do all the letters, but I've forgotten all the it was mostly special signs for special words, and I've forgotten most of those.
Did you get to use them later on in your career during teaching?
No.
Okay. So when you finished at King William's College, what sort of subjects did you enjoy that made you go on, and what did you do when you went on?
When I went on, I had no choice.
Oh, okay.
I was called up.
You were called up?
National Service, yes.
Right.
So I had to go to the RAF for a couple of years. And
where were you stationed?
well, various places, but I spent 6 months in Crail in Fife learning Russian. And when we'd done that, we had to go and do a wireless course, and then we went to Berlin to listen to the Russian pilots and write down what they said.
How good were you at that?
All right.
Yeah.
It was pretty simple stuff.
Yeah. So did it occur to you to go on for an espionage job or something? No. So
I didn't know what I was going to do.
Yeah.
I only knew one thing, and that was I wasn't going to be a teacher.
Why was that?
Well, mainly because I couldn't stand teenagers. And I thought of teaching as being secondary.
Right.
And I thought teenagers were little horrors, and I'm not dealing with them any at all. Yeah, so then I went to university, Manchester. I did German.
So this was after you'd done Russian?
Yes.
Did that help you, the fact that was there much crossover in the languages?
Oh, well, I'd done German at school.
Oh, okay.
French and German at school, yeah. Mm-hmm. No, there wasn't much crossover. And then I thought I was going to go into industry, so I went and worked for Avro plane makers for a while, for about a year.
Where was that?
In Manchester.
Okay.
But didn't suit me. And I decided I was going to be a teacher after all, realising I could be a teacher of small children who were all right.
So there must have been lots of opportunities, different opportunities, aside from teaching. What sort of particularly made you decide that you wanted to do that?
I couldn't really think what to do. And teaching was sort of, all right, I'll have a go at that then.
Were you particularly?
I was never very ambitious at anything.
Were you keen to come home? Was that one of the major drivers? Do you think?
I was keen to come home. Yes.
Yeah, even though you'd been at boarding school in Castletown.
Yeah, but you couldn't start teaching in the Isle of Man straight away.
Right.
I did a year's teaching course.
Yeah.
Which was useless. And then I spent 2 years in Liverpool teaching.
Right.
Which I enjoyed. They were good, nice kids. Then I got over here to Albert Road and spent the rest of my life. Yeah,
but so many things that you did at Albert Road. You've had a great influence on my life from the sport and the music that you've introduced me to. But there was lots of other things, wasn't there? I mean, what were the first things that?
Well, the first thing that happened was I was asked would I take the Ramsey Swimming Club, which at the time was held in Douglas at Ballacameen Baths.
Because we didn't have a pool, I guess, in Ramsey at that point.
No. But within a year we had one.
Gosh. Did they know that? Was that the point of setting it up, do you think? That they started a club and got you to run it?
Oh, that's been going for years and years, the Ramsey Club.
Oh, right, okay.
Long before I was born. And then we started back in Ramsey. And I became quite keen on swimming, and I took the club, and I got the Commonwealth Games with, Carol Mead, Jill Kennish.
Yeah, I do, yeah.
They went to the Commonwealth Games.
Gosh.
In New Zealand in '74.
But they must have been teenagers at that point. So did you get them early to?
Well, they started at I think they were year 6 then. What would be year 6? It was called 4th year then. Mm-hmm. They were year 6 at the time, and then when they went to the grammar school, they wanted to carry on, so we did.
What sort of commitment did that require?
Oh, a lot. We were up at 6, down the pool for 5:30, and then we were back down again at tea time, plus weekends. It was I don't know how I did it.
7 days a week?
I think 6.
Okay.
6.
A day off?
Yeah, a day off.
Gosh. So how did that sort of transform itself into wider things? What you were one of the founders of Northern Athletic Club, were you not?
Well, what happened was when I came back from the Commonwealth Games, which was in '74, the pool closed. The roof was broken or something.
Oh.
And it closed for about 3 years. Mm-hmm. So I thought, right, I'd just been seeing the Commonwealth Games and the runners are there, and I thought, I'll have a go at that. So we started, you probably remember, we started over at the miniature golf course.
I remember.
Cross country.
I do. I remember Murrick Park. I remember mostly running in the dark because we didn't stop just because the light went. We'd run. You'd have us running out on the North Promenade up to the dog mills. I think that was the furthest I went, but some of you went to a lot further, 12 miles or something. Stephen Mackey.
Yeah, Stevie was fantastic, wasn't he?
Yeah, it was amazing. Martin Strickett.
Yeah.
That's the kids I remember.
He's still doing it now. He's running it.
Yeah.
He's running in Northern.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
So that was the start of the NAC, the Northern Athletic Club. Then we had a big sponsored run to get prizes together for the presentation at the end of the first winter. And it was held at the Viking. And I thought, well, there's going to be a lot of presentations. It's going to get pretty boring. So at that time, you and May had started playing the whistle.
Oh, yeah.
So I thought what we'll do is we'll have interspersed some tunes with the presentations.
Oh, poor parents. Oh, dear.
And then that took over. The music took over from the running.
Yeah, I mean, I remember from my school days, I think you must have commandeered somehow through the Board of Education one of these newfangled music centres, which was a combination of a record player, a cassette player, and a radio. And of course, we were able to use that during lunch hours.
I don't remember that.
No. That's how I learnt tunes, is from your music collection that used to play very loudly. These tunes over and over in our heads. And I think we were brainwashed into music. Not that I'm complaining.
I was talking to Mary Ratcliffe about you recently, and she said when you were in her class, you never went out to play, or didn't tell me that you spent the whole time playing the whistle.
Oh, did I?
Yes.
Must have been to her frustration. She wanted me to run. Yeah. Oh dear. So, I mean, what? Did you when you were at uni? Did you get any sort of specialisms? I mean, how was it that you got into educating kids in such a wide way? Because was there any particular passion that you had for the subjects that you would teach?
No.
Because I seem to remember being being absolutely rubbish before I came into your class at doing maths, and then getting an absolutely almost impassioned about maths. Which I know that you then, speaking to other people that I went to school with, we all found the same thing. We all got much better at maths and enthused by it. Was there anything particularly you?
Well, I like maths myself, but
okay.
That's all, really.
Computing, you got into computing.
Well,
very early.
That was 81, the very first.
Casio, was it, or a Sinclair?
Sinclair ZX81.
I remember that.
You can't believe how crude they were.
I can remember.
Yeah, but that was 81. That was quite a bit later, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
When were you at Albert Road?
Oh, I left Albert Road. I left Albert Road. I went to the Ramsey Grammar School in 1977.
Right.
I started in the September 77. So it would have been after that. So so what happened after the presentation at the Viking Hotel with the I do remember those award ceremonies. I have to admit, I remember you'd somehow managed to get all these. I'm drawing a picture of a shield, like a wooden plank, a big plank with loads and loads of shields on it, like copper or things that you get your names engraved on. I remember my best friend Mei Ying winning, I think, most of them on her own. So then she would stand up and play a whistle. And so how did it? How did the band form then? How did the music develop from that presentation?
I'm a bit vague myself, but it was just you and May to start with. I remember that.
Okay.
And then Suling and Janice joined.
Oh, Janice Pearson.
Yeah, because they came running. Oh, and Sharon Crow, and that was the original Munjavega.
Yeah, meaning little people.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah. I remember getting called all sorts of things because nobody knew what Munjavega stood for. I think the favourite one that we used to laugh about was Mingy Beggars. That was...
Well, that was Mike Williams. It wasn't Mingy Beggars, it was Mingy Buggers.
Mingy Buggers?
Yes.
Fair enough. It's not very... It's funny now.
when people used to ask for you to play for them, they'd say, what's the name? I say, Munjavega. What? Munjavega. How do you spell that? Moinjervegey. Well, what came after the M? And I got fed up with this, to be honest. And when you finished, we started off a new lot. It was people like Neil Postlethwaite.
Yes.
And Martin Corkish.
Yeah.
And Sarah Garrett.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought of a new name, which was Shena Veg. And I was very pleased with it because it's easy. Mm-hmm. To say, easy to spell, and also sort of vaguely witty. It means better than nothing.
Yeah.
And when I told them, I've got a new name for you. What is it? Shana Veg. Oh, that sounds nice. What does it mean? Better than nothing. Oh, that's not very nice, is it?
So you were very much into the, languages because you'd done Russian and you'd done German. Russian at the RAF and you'd done German at uni. Mm. So did that translate into pardon the pun there, into Manx language? I mean, how did you get into studying and teaching Manx language? Well,
that came also from the Commonwealth Games, funnily enough.
Really?
Because we went down, it was in Christchurch.
Yeah.
And when you get there, you're invited to all sorts of receptions and so on. Mm-hmm. And there was this Christchurch or New Zealand Manx Society. And a local got up and he made a speech in Manx, and not one of us understood a word he said.
Oh, my goodness.
And I was so ashamed of myself. Oh, gosh, this fella here 12,000 miles away, and he's speaking Manx. I mean, it might have been rubbish for all I know. I don't know what it was like. So when I got back, I said to Phil Kelly, I want to learn Manx. And so I went out with him and his mate every night, and they spoke Manx to me all the time.
So Phil was another teacher at Albert Road?
Yes.
So he was already a Manx speaker, was he?
Yes, he was, yeah.
Oh, okay.
He was pleased to have another recruit. You know.
Another victim.
Yeah.
So how long did it take you to pick that up?
Not long, about 6 months, because it was every night.
Yeah.
Speaking nothing but Manx.
Gosh. Yeah, I suppose you're immersed in it like that with a couple of fluent speakers. Because... For listeners who don't know, but the Isle of Man's language all but died out.
They did, yeah.
And people like Phil, he wasn't a born native speaker. He'd learned it as he'd gone along as well. But who was the last? Was it Leslie Quirk, I think?
Ned Madrill was the last native speaker.
Right.
Fellow from the south.
Yeah.
But there was a generation of people like Charles Crane who went round all the later speakers while they were still there and recorded them.
Yes.
And they saved the language, really.
Gosh, there was Mona Douglas. So she wasn't a native Manx speaker, was she?
No, she wasn't.
She collected the music, though, because I remember meeting Mona. You introduced us all to Mona Douglas fairly early on in our musical careers, and she was a great influence, I think, on many of us. Did you have much to do with Mona?
I knew her. I met her a few times, and she knew me by name.
So you carried on. I mean, you ran Shena Veg for a few years. How long? How did that sort of develop? What happened then?
Well, what happened with them was it's different from your lot.
We were the first lot, really, I suppose.
Music came before school.
Yeah.
With you.
Right. Okay.
Before homework and stuff like that, you'd rather learn a new tune than do some homework.
Yeah, I can remember that.
And you kept on going until you were in the sixth form, didn't you?
We did, yeah, 18, I think. Well, yeah, and then beyond that, yeah, sure.
But Shena Veg, as soon as they got to fifth form, music stopped, the GCSEs.
Right.
So they stopped.
Oh, okay. So what happened then? Had you brought up...
There was some more coming up, yeah. But not like that. We went down a couple of grades, if you might say
sure.
that. But I kept the name because I was sick of thinking of new names, and I quite like Shena Veg anyway.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's sort of spin-off from the music was dancing, was Manx dancing at that point as well. Was that
Martin, wasn't it?
Yeah. So Martin Barrow.
Martin Barrow, who helped us with Munja Vega
Yes.
for quite a time, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. Yeah, the sound man.
Yes. But he was into dancing.
Right.
And he taught kids, people like June Garrett,
Right.
dancing at Albert Road.
Okay. And Dewan's the head teacher, is he?
Not head, no.
Yeah, he's a deputy head.
Not even that, but he's one of the management team.
Okay. How did the Bliana Van Annen come around? Is it you've always kept it very much under the radar? But I mean, how did you get into music? How did you? What was your instrument? When did you take up a musical instrument?
Oh, that's the thing I forgot to tell you about too.
Yeah.
I started going to the wheel bar in Laxey to listen to the Menenfolk.
Oh, right.
Remember Francie and Norma? Francie Hughes,
do.
Norman, John Nuddle.
I do, yeah.
Marlene.
Marlene Hendy, no.
Kinraid. Marlene Kinraid.
Marlene
she
Kinraid,
was.
yeah.
I used to watch them. I thought, I wouldn't mind doing that. So I originally got myself a banjo to make myself into a Francie.
A 5-string or a 4-string?
5-string.
Oh.
Yeah. And a mate of mine also got one. No, he got a guitar, that's right. He got a guitar.
Yeah. Was that Dewan Vernon?
Yes.
Yes, I remember.
Yeah.
Okay.
But he found it difficult, so I thought, because the banjo is easier than a guitar anyway.
And louder.
Maybe, yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, I found I was having to slow down because he was having more trouble with the guitar. So I got a guitar then to slow myself down, or rather to keep going with June. And June never kept it up.
Oh, I see. So what sort of tunes did you play? Were you singing or
No, not really.
just playing?
Just playing. Yeah, I've never been a singer.
But you did get singers though. You did play for. I remember you playing things like the Herring Fleet. What was the
Loss of the Herring Fleet.
Loss of the Herring Fleet and Ellen Vannon.
Ellen Vannon, yes, that was one of the first songs we learned. Was Ellen Vannon?
Yeah, I remember
the
that.
Loss of the Ellen Vannon. And it was about then, you see, I think that your whistle started, and so I used to play the guitar with you.
Yeah, I remember.
Yeah. I think that's how I carried on with the guitar.
So you must have bought quite a lot of Irish music at that point and other folk music in order to play on that great big music centre that you can't remember having. That we used to learn tunes from.
Planksty.
Belfast Hornpipe.
That was the Dubliners.
The Dubliners, yeah, I remember that one.
John Sheehan. Still going, he is.
Is he? Yeah, no, well, so there was, so as a result of Munja Vega's success, there were several other groups, and I think we've mentioned Shane of Egg, but there was also MacTulloch Vannon, who, I mean, for example, Su Ling and Mei Ying that went on from Munja Vega. They did MacTulloch Vannon. There was Patchin Vannon was another one. You know, so you've sort of had that, it's like throwing a pebble into a pond sometimes. You get to create that ripple effect, and I mean,
I didn't actually have anything to do with MacTulloch Vannon.
No, and he gave them all the transferable skills that they needed to go and join it. Yes, apart from that, no. So,
they did quite a bit of Munja Vega stuff.
Yes. Things
from Munja Vega, a few things anyway.
Yeah. Yeah, no, there was. So, I mean, what other things have there was? I mentioned before when we first met today that one of the guitar players that is now he's a PhD, a marketing strategist in London. He's Simon Collister.
I never taught him anything.
He was a great guitarist, though.
I never taught him any music. I don't think he was in my class. I taught him other things, but not music. I don't think. Well, he was taught by Peter Lum.
Right.
Do you know him?
No.
He's a guitar teacher.
So he had separate guitar lessons before, but he still had the platform and the enthusiasm to want to play because of the opportunities that you afforded. Yeah. I wouldn't. I definitely think that's got a lot to do with it. If you don't mind me asking, and primarily I ask this as because it's so central to everyone's life and how they make decisions in a lot of ways is their interaction with money, and quite often how we make decisions with money is how it was when we were growing up, how we found it when we were growing up. So, what was your earliest memory of money? What do you remember mostly?
As a child, you mean?
Yeah, as a child.
I used to get 6D a week pocket money. That's all I remember.
6D.
6D, yeah, which is 2.5 pence.
Right, and what would you do with that?
Buy sweets.
Okay, what sort of sweets?
Oh gosh, wine gums, that sort of thing. I can't really remember.
Yeah.
You could buy quite a lot of sweets for 6D.
Yeah.
You won't remember 6D, would you?
Yes, I do.
Do you?
I do remember. I remember in 1972, I think, somebody turned up to Albert Road School with packets of plastic 2p's and 1p's to demonstrate what decimalisation looked like for all of us children who'd have to use this new money.
Well, the new money started in 71.
Oh, well, I mean, it's 71 then. All right, my memory's...
That's when it started, in February 71, yeah. I don't know why I remember that, but I do.
Plastic money. Do you remember the plastic coins?
Yes, I do, yeah.
Things that stick in your mind. So, of all the things that you've done throughout your life so far, I mean, what things have given you the most fulfilment from a personal perspective and from a teaching perspective? That's professional basis.
Well, I suppose it got to be the music, really.
Yeah, and you still are involved in the music, even.
I still go in 4 mornings a week and teach mainly harp these days, but it's still whistles and things as well.
Yeah.
But it's mainly harp these days, which didn't exist in your day. We never had a harp, did we, in your day?
No, we never had harps, but...
But when I retired, or the year I was going to retire, I thought, what am I going to do with myself after this? So I thought, I know, I'll start making some pochine. and I got all the books out, and I even got some of the equipment. I was going to make pochine.
Right. And what stopped you?
I saw an advert for a harp kit.
Right.
From Hobgoblin. And it was just a kit. You could buy a kit. It was quite cheap. I can't remember what it was. It's only a small one, 22 strings. So I went to see my mate, Ewan Vernon, who was a very, very, very good woodworker. He could have made a living at it, although he became a teacher eventually. But I said, would you help me? He said, yes, all right. So we started making it together, and we came into conflict because as far as I was concerned, it was a musical instrument.
Okay.
To make a noise.
Yeah.
As far as he was concerned, it was a piece of furniture.
Piece of art.
To look nice.
Yeah.
He'd send me off and say, go and send that down. So I'd send it all. He said, no, it wants to be... I wanted to get strings on it, you know.
See what it sounded like. Yes.
So eventually we got strings on it, so I think I probably jumped the gun a bit.
Ah, okay.
And I was delighted with the sound of it. It sounded lovely. It's only a little tiny one. I've still got it.
So like a clairsac. Is that a small harp called a clairsac? Is that it?
No. I think a clairsac is the 34 string.
Oh, is it?
One about that big.
You would know. Right. Okay. So you still got the small harp.
It's the lap harp they call them. Yeah.
Yeah.
And but it made a nice noise. Still does. What I like about harps is you can't make a nasty noise on them. No matter how bad you are.
Yeah.
They just go. It sounds fine.
Yeah.
It sounds nice.
Well, for our listeners' benefit, I just share the story that a couple of years back there was a big birthday of yours, and our band reformed to commemorate the occasion. And as a follow-up to that, Mei Ying and I went in to observe you, Mike, and your current iteration of musical apprentices at the School Rigori, and to see how many harps there were. And it was just tremendous, really. There must have been about, 10 of them sitting around a room playing, at least 10 playing harps, and then another 10 playing tin whistles, and all very capable, and all couldn't wait to have a turn on the harp. They're all sort of...
It's led to a lessening of the standard of whistle playing, because...
No bad thing.
As soon as they get to be okay in the whistle, they say, can I learn a harp now?
Yeah.
It's as if they have to play a whistle first, and then they're allowed to play a harp.
Right, but that's not it at all, is it? It's interesting because as a woodwind player myself, I never had a desire to play strings much. I played guitar a bit, but to me it made no sense to make a note go up. You take your fingers off on woodwind instrument, but to make notes go up on a string, you put your fingers on. It was the complete opposite, and in my brain, it didn't compute as easily as woodwind instruments. I guess you must have been thrilled with that particular.
Mera.
Yeah. Yeah,
I was. Yeah, I mean, she was a super kid anyway.
Yeah.
She came to Albert Road. I think she came when she was Rigori. Sorry, I think she came when she was year 4.
Yeah, there's Mera Royle who's.
Yes.
Yeah. And she took up harp there in year 4.
She started off on the whistle again.
Okay.
And then she went to the harp, and she was obviously good.
Yeah.
And her year, I actually had possibly the second best group I've ever had, and I'm including you as the first group.
Gosh.
We had Mera on the harp. We had Frankie on the Northumbrian pipes. You saw her, didn't you?
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
And we had another harp player, and we had one whistle player instead of 27 as we normally have, and we had a very good cello player, Samantha. We had a bouzouki player. So instead of having it as we usually have, 4 harps and 3 whistles, we had a couple of harps, which is just right.
Yeah.
Pipe player, who was very good.
Very unusual too. There's somebody that age to play pipes, yes.
Lovely sound too they make.
Yeah, lovely.
And it was just a perfect group.
Gosh. So how far did they go? I mean, obviously I know Mera went, she won the BBC Two Young Folk Musician of the Year 2019, wasn't it?
I think so, yes.
That's just phenomenal.
18 or 19.
Yeah, not that long ago.
Yeah.
And what about the group? Did they, I guess they would have won everything that they tried to compete in here.
They did that year, yes. Yeah.
So the Guild and Crunic.
And
Folk Awards.
Frankie went to Frankie Greenwood. She went to the one who played the pipes.
Yes.
She went to a music school across.
Right, and what's she do now?
I don't know.
Well, perhaps if she's listening to this, she'll.
I know she came over and brought the group over to play and perform at the Centenary Centre in Peel.
Was it part of Shenika's Jew? Maybe. Was it part of that festival, or
no? It wasn't. It was just a special occasion. She came over. She brought a group over from the school.
Yeah, yeah.
And she's become a singer.
Yeah, no, that's great. It sort of started in the 70s with teachers like you, who would have been the most influential in the north of the island, and I suppose that and the competition that's happened through the things like the Cruniac and the Guild, it's encouraged more and more youngsters to take up music, and we have today the bands to the quality of and musicians. Like I saw Mera was playing with David Kilgallen and the Bretons last year. But I suppose what you've done is it's had a huge impact on the revival of not just the culture but the music particularly. So
there's other people too. I mean, these days there's Katie Lawrence.
Yes.
Who's doing a fantastic amount with singing in the school she's at.
Oh yes, she has, hasn't she? Yeah.
She even got a parents' choir going.
Yeah. Yeah. So Katie's been amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's so many. It was so when we started, there was no one doing it. You started it.
Well, the Lawrences were on their own in because they were both very good musicians.
Okay,
anyway.
Right.
Katie and Kirsty.
So how do you keep yourself busy these days, Mike? You're still doing the music. That you do that. What else do you do?
Well, I can't at the moment, obviously, because of
of course, yes.
Yeah. But I still go in 4 mornings a week.
In normal times.
In normal times, yes.
You have a mobile tuning service for harps too, don't you?
Well, only at the moment because they're in people's houses.
Okay. I can't tune my harp.
Yeah.
Come and sort it out. So what about that? Do you still, because you've done in your life quite a lot. You used to do running yourself and a lot of walking. Do you still do much of that?
Not as much as I used to. Well, I can't. That's what I used to do.
Yeah, but you still keep yourself fit and active.
I try to, yeah.
Yeah, very good.
For an old fella.
So what do you think are the best things, given that you left the island, you went and did quite varied things in your early life and early career. I mean, what are the best things about living in the Isle of Man? For me, it's the best place in the world to live. All my friends are here. It's a beautiful place. Just the right size, I think. It's a fella I know came over here from England a family came over here from England, and he said, we researched and it was decided that the best size for a town to be was 7,000, which is Ramsey. So that's why we're living here. Well, there you go. There's academic research, peer-reviewed, that that stands up to scrutiny, that you endorse. Very good. So what would you say that the main challenges are that the Isle of Man faces? I mean, particularly at the moment. Well, I don't know how we're going to manage when we let people in again, when we've got to. Yeah. I think they did a good job in closing the borders to start with so early. Yes. And they've got us in the good position we're in now. But at some point, they've got to reopen them and the whole thing to start again. I'm not a politician. No. As I've said. No, me either. So, I mean, what opportunities could you see, though, for the island, particularly, that might have occurred? I mean, obviously not manufacture of poachine or maybe harps. But, are there any other... there are opportunities that you could see from even a people haven perspective, since it's such a beautiful place to live. It's do we have that attraction to bring the right sort of new resident here to help us rebuild our economies?
Well, we'll have to have some kind of economy to bring them to, won't we? We can't attract all the old pensioners in the United Kingdom. You can't afford to have them here.
Not unless they're wealthy.
If they're wealthy, then they don't pay very much, do they?
I don't know. It's tax is there to be paid by all. It should be fair. Yeah. Okay. Well, are there any projects you've got planned next? Is there anything that you're looking forward to doing with your musicians when you get them back to an even keel?
All I really want to do is to carry on as I am.
Yeah.
Because I'm 82 this next month.
Right.
I'm not going to start anything groundbreaking now at my age, am I? So I'd just like to carry on doing what I'm doing.
As long as you can.
Yeah.
Yeah, great.
Because I enjoy it.
Yeah, that's what makes you happy, that's it. So what people have had a big influence on you in your life? Have you had any major influences, really? People that...
There's lots, but there's not one, one outstanding one, I don't think.
No. What about books that you've read or authors? Clearly not Tennyson, but,
No. I can't read anymore, unfortunately.
No.
I've always liked P.G. Wodehouse. There's a bit of light relief.
Yeah. Okay.
I like historical books.
Yeah. You can get Audible these days on...
Yes.
Yeah. That's a great first subscription. I have that on the car quite a lot. I mean, is there anything that you wanted to talk about that we didn't get a chance? Anything you wanted to ask me that we didn't get a chance to cover today?
I can't think of anything, no. We seem to have done quite a bit.
Yeah. How did you meet Norrie and Mary Radcliffe? Did you meet Norrie in the Air Force? Where were you doing?
No, it was they both were at Albert Road.
Oh, they taught at Albert Road
Yes.
in the early days because they both came back when I was there. Or was that the first time they turned up? Because I had the impression that they'd taught before there and then they came
No,
back
Norrie was in the Air Force.
Right, okay.
And then he went to college for a year. I'm not sure if he taught across it. I don't think he did. He came straight back to the Isle of Man.
And he taught at Albert Road School with Mary, because Mary was my teacher for a bit.
Yeah. He taught at Pulrose for a couple of years first.
Okay.
And also, they were friends of my parents.
Right, okay.
That's, I think, how we got to know them so well.
Yeah. I tell you what, I'm really curious to know about your grandparents and how that shaped your life. I mean, growing up in a household in what year was it? The 50s in when you or the late what year were you born? 38, right? So in the 40s, and when you were before you went off to college.
Yeah.
What was it like growing up?
50.
What was it like growing up with a?
Well, we lived there for I think about 5 years in Westbourne Road where they live, where we finished up living.
Yeah.
It was their house. And I just thought, I think I thought it was normal for grandparents to be deaf and dumb.
Gosh, was it? This is your dad's mum and dad, not your mum's, right?
I never knew them. They must have died before I was born.
Yeah.
I think I just thought it was normal for grandparents to be deaf and dumb.
It's amazing, isn't it? The perceptions you get when you're a kid.
It was just a normal thing for us.
Yeah.
And they couldn't speak so anybody could understand them. I could sometimes, and my father could, obviously. So we used to do all this.
It must be very challenging for him to have been brought up by deaf and dumb parents, because he was very bright and very, very eloquent, Sydney, wasn't he? He was a very good journalist, very well respected.
Yeah, and he could speak well too. He could speak a lot better than me, which is funny, as you say, because he's brought up by deaf and dumb parents.
Yeah, it's phenomenal.
I hadn't really thought about that.
Well, but again, Sue and I, we're kind of proof, really, that the influence you get from the teachers that teach you, that they shape your life probably as much as anybody. It's a huge responsibility, and you should be really proud of yourself for all the great things that you've enabled us to go on.
It works both ways. I mean, a teacher needs good kids to be able to do anything with.
Well, yes, but without we're just empty vessels otherwise, aren't we? You
caused Mary to stop teaching recorder.
Did I?
Yes, you were in her class, and you were in there every playtime going, they're playing Belfast Hornpipe and stuff like that, and she'd been teaching things like the on the recorder, and she heard you. She's only been playing it for a few weeks. Oh.
I know.
And she gave up the recorder.
Oh, God.
That's what she told me. Yeah.
Oh well, that's okay.
You're still, I think, the best one I've ever had whistle player.
Yeah, oh, well, that's nice of you to say so. But
And you were the first one.
yeah, well, I didn't have much in my life to focus on really, except for.
How many years ago was that then?
I was 9. I remember it. My parents were getting divorced at the time, so it was the best distraction and sanity that I guess a 9-year-old needed at the time. That's why I still driven them nuts. Maybe I caused the divorce. I didn't. No, I remember they'd split up, and I had my whistle, and I remember going up to Windsor Road, which is where we lived before my dad lived there, and we'd had to move out to this awful flat in opposite the Queen's Pier. And I remember having my tin whistle and going up in this empty bedroom, which was my bedroom. None of my furniture was there because it had all moved out. And sitting in the middle of the floor, cross-legged, and having this tune in my head called Hewlett. I remember playing it over and over in my head before I picked up the whistle, and I knew where my fingers went. And all I can think of is, because it's the trauma of a child's parents splitting up, and having that release of, that creativity.
I'm not aware of all this.
Well, that's... So thank you. Yeah, so that's not really. Anyway, it's not about me. It's supposed to be about you. But it's the influence that you've had you've had a great deal of positive influence. So thanks very much to you, Mike, for recording with me today, and hopefully you enjoyed this episode of Island Influences. Thanks very much.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Island Influencers from Thornton Chartered Financial Planners. To find out more and for useful links, visit thorntonfs.com/podcasts.